Hey, Don, the Auction Professor. As I have been talking about, I'm going to go over some more BOLOs today. Again, these are items that I see every single year, all the time, just this time of year more than ever before. So, again, I've been out this whole week. Last week, I've been picking up Christmas items left and right. This is the time to sell them. You know, there's more items that are out there that you can get that, people just aren't aware of. So, again, pay attention to these items. I'm not trying to be redundant, but again, these items are showing up right this very second. Most people haven't a clue. I constantly pick up these items literally right after somebody walked by them. They think they're not worth anything. They just think they're not really great items, or it's not a high seller. But again, it's fourth quarter, so all of these items are going to be, desirable, more desirable now than any time before. So we're going to go over the screen and we're going to talk about just some more BOLOs here for fourth quarter. Okay, today's the first, and at least I'm going to do 3 of these this week here. These are items that I have just turned up throughout the week, and they're nothing really special. Most people do not think they're worth much. They don't know how to test them. These are vintage Christmas light bulbs, just light bulbs. That's all we're talking about. I know it seems crazy. These go for a ton of money. This one bulb here with the angel on it, hand-painted glass, $645.55. Now, this is probably from the 1920s, 30s, or even 40s at the very latest. These show up quite often. And, some are used, obviously, for the angel on top of the tree, but they could go anywhere in a tree. Some had stands, which I'll show you here in a minute. This won't be a long video, but it's going to be things that you are going to see. Now, most people won't mess with these because they don't know if they work. Now, even if they don't work, this would have still sold for at least $75 would be my guess. Now, I'm not sure if people can take these apart and refix them or not, but people definitely do buy them when they are damaged or not working because I still sell them that way. Obviously, nowhere near as much if they work, but these are old. These are hard, well-made, built back when things were built solid. So a lot of these actually still work, believe it or not. I find more vintage bulbs that work than I ever do the newer bulbs. A fact. Even some of the LEDs go out. We bought LEDs for a Christmas tree, and they go out. I mean, even the ones that are the permanent ones that are supposed to last you for $10,000, they just don't last that long. Just cheaply made compared to what these are here. But again, just light bulbs. We're going to talk about one more item at the very end here too that is a real good item that you're going to see all the time too. But $645 for just a light bulb. And I've just picked some. There's a bunch more. This is one single light bulb. It has been tested. I'll show you a way to test these. Now, even with, you can see the crackle in the paint, even with the paint coming off, people will touch these up. As long as the design is mostly there and the bulb works, they still sell. This one went for $500. It has normal age wear, which is the paint. So here's another $500 light bulb. Just that leaf. It's the maple leaf, the Canadian maple leaf. You just have to know some of these. I don't know how many people would have walked by this without thinking a single solitary thing. I would have bought it because I know all these bulbs sell. I've shown some in some of my videos. A snowman and Santa Claus heads and all of those I buy. And I do find those, usually in bags, for not much money at a sale even. Even most of the estate sales I see don't have them priced very high, just a couple bucks. And they most always can't test them, so I will take the shot. Even if I pay $2 for it, I don't know if it works. I get home, it doesn't work. I'm going to get $20 or better no matter what. So anyway, just show you a few more here, and then we'll just talk just quickly about something else. $394 for this one. And any of these sell pretty well. So it says red coat. It's probably another Canadian piece would be my guess. This is from a different seller, so they probably weren't aware of that. But most of these will sell, and even like March of the Toy Soldiers and things like that you'd see. But this honestly looks like a Royal Canadian Mounted Police, by my opinion. That would be what that is. But someone probably knows that's what it is, and that's why it's sold. But 9 bids. I don't remember. I did look at what it started off, but it was almost nothing. So, again, these all sell. Figural. Here's another angel with her hand on it. And this is an earlier one, just by the pose, I would guess 20s or thereabouts. I mean, it's got paint losses, as all of them do. I don't remember if this one said if it actually worked. Let's go down and see. I do not know if this is a working bulb. So the price of it was $492 for a non-working Christmas bulb. Now, I say this, because I've seen them sell for more than this not working, even confirmed not working. So, maybe there is some way to fix these. I don't know what they do or what, but, they sell regardless. People still collect them non-working light bulbs. If you're not aware, early Edison light bulbs from the 1890s and stuff, even if they don't work, goes for thousands of dollars as long as they're confirmed by him. And I've seen some that were like hand etched. We've been to the Edison Museum and all that. I've seen stuff. I've seen his laboratory, Menlo Park and all that. So anyway, let's move on here. I just want you to know that these bulbs, people thought I was crazy when I spent a ton of money on some of these when they said they didn't work. And I said, I don't care if they don't work. Perfect example, almost $500 for a non-working bulb or one that they can't confirm. So this guy's taking a chance whether it works or not. He doesn't care. Now here's just an example. This one's mounted on the tree. Now some of these early ones were pre-made with lights in it back in the 50s. Now this is a Noma. Now Noma are really good. Leviton, that's like the electrical wiring, I do believe. It's actually broken too, and it still went for $362. Now these old tabletop trees, especially when they work like this, are key items that we get whenever we can run into them. And I'll sell them. I'll sit there and pack them all up. I'll send them Airborne or UPS or whatever if they're too big to go in, the post office, and they'll pay for shipping. This one's $50 in shipping. Anyway, and it's from Oklahoma, so it's a long ways. It's on the other coast from us. So anyway, here's just some bubble lights. Now let's see if these say they work. I'm going to show you in a minute here a little device somebody made to test these, but state fine. Let's see. Lights have been tested with a 9-volt battery, and 3 of the 6 bulbs work. So only half of them work. That's not a good judge on, testing with a 9-volt either. You can just, hook up some wires to them. But I do have a little socket that I bought and I rewired just to test bulbs. So I have a tester. I'll show it to you in a minute what everybody uses. And I just took what somebody else did and I came up with the same thing. Again, half of them work. You can see probably the bottom or the far left blue one doesn't work just by the cloudiness. Probably has some air in there or something else that shouldn't be. Now there's going to be some air because they're bubblers, but I really think there's a way to fix these if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I'll address that in another one, but $355 for these. And I sell these the ones with the ring around it, the flying saucer ones are the ones you want the most. These early looking ones here. Some of these were very hazardous and they would catch fire when they first came out because they couldn't be cooled. And later on they vented it and all these other things. So anyway, let's move on. This was an interesting set. This is 50s, I would say, by the socket themselves. This is a good lot here. So anyway, it's a nice full box of them. $230. Interesting design. So any of these, even a couple singles of this might go for $15 or $20. So light bulbs again. Now here's just a grouping of various ones. I've had the Santa Claus. The birds are pretty common. Quite a few different varieties here. Let's go down and see how many of these work. This one for $217. All have been checked with a meter and determined to work. Now, just because they were meter tested doesn't necessarily mean they will work. You can assume, chances are, but I don't always assume that. Tester or not, I just plug them in, and if they light up, they light up, I don't trust voltage, because sometimes there could be other issues from what I understand. But 217, here's a tester. Now, this is something that I made. I found one of these sockets in the garage years ago. It doesn't even necessarily have to be in perfect condition. I rewired it with new wiring and all, but this is literally what you can get. And you can still buy these from like secondhand stores and stuff like that. But this person tested them. C6 is what these are. That's what they are. But I've tested them the same way. I have one of these little testers that all those bulbs fit into. So for like $10, I got one, wired it and everything else, and put a plug on it for myself. But anyway. 187 for 2 Santas. Let's see if, it says they both work. Let's see if they actually tested them in working condition. It doesn't say how they tested them. I would say how or show them lit. That is going to be what sells them. If they were lit, they probably would have sold them for another 50 or so bucks minimum. But 187, again, light bulbs. Even if these don't work, you would have still got $40 for them. Let's see if these work. There's some paint loss. Bulbs have not been tested and are sold as is, no returns. Well, obviously, if they arrive broken or something, you have to return them, have to be able to return them. I hate when people put that in here. I guess it's a pet peeve because they don't realize that you still have to take them back or at least give them a full refund if for some reason there's something wrong with them. Or some defect that they didn't mention, or something's broken, or whatever the case may be. They don't say anything's damaged. They just don't know if they work. So I would test them no matter what. Even if you got to use a 9-volt with a wire wired to it, then you touch the thread part and then the bottom with one of each wire, and that tells you if they work that way. That's not the best bet. I usually try to plug them in, but anyway, even non-working will still go for good money. The candles especially. Now this one went for $2. The base, this is just a different item. This isn't necessarily like a bulb for a tree itself. This would go on a stand just like you see. That's a Bakelite stand. It's got what I would say would be cloth-coated wiring. It's an interesting one. He has some interesting things in his hands. Let's see, here's some paint, mostly on bottom. Does it say it worked? Doesn't even say if it works. No, I don't see if it works anywhere. He probably had some questions and answered it that way. Most people, again, they don't really care if these work, it seems like, on most of these. Let's just show you a few more here. It's not a long video, but this is what I am finding right now. Light bulbs, light strings, and things. Vintage boxes from the 40s and 50s that are in good condition can really increase the value on these. Now, this one has the metal clips. Those are always better. So you can see like the clips on the sides here. Those metal ones are always the best ones here. And they've actually shown them plugged in and working. These tend to work, for decades compared to the new bulbs. So, when I see them, even loose strands like this, I always buy them. I don't know how many times I see people walk by them. They don't think anything of them. They don't think they're that old. Again, this is a BOLO all day long, old vintage lights, even without the box. I'm showing you none with boxes. The box ones can sell very well too. Even just regular strand C6, C7 bulbs in vintage Noma boxes will sell. And these are Nomas here too. Now you see they don't go as high as the other ones. They don't have that Saturn ring around them. And as I said, some of these are very dangerous and have caught fire. So, just keep that in mind, that some of these I wouldn't want to use. Lights have been tested with a 9-volt battery and bulbs are working. That's what they said. I always try to check them by actually seeing them lit. That's the only 100% way I have found. Maybe the 9-volt is a 100% good way to tell, but I've been told not to do that by someone who's very big into Christmas collectibles. So, that's just the judgment that I take on these. A couple of them do look cloudy. That yellow one with the yellow center and light part looks a little odd too, like it's got something on it. Hard to say, but either way, they're still sold $138. And then here's one more lights, and then I'm just going to talk about one more item here that's showing up now. Again, now I've run into these kind here. These are 70s, late 60s, early 70s, even in through the 80s you will see. The box gives it away right there. But it's the style of the lights. Now it's probably regular lights, but the little shroud with the tinsel reflectors around it's what pushes this one up. The strand itself, those are mounted to, would be my guess. So you can replace the inner bulb, but you can't change off. Let me slide over so you can see what I'm talking about. This thing here, I found just these in various types of plastic, and any of these reflector things that the bulbs go into are good. Now, as you see, these are newer ones because of the bulbs. It might be those little... there's another variety of bulbs that are screw-in as well that are small like this, but I don't believe that's the case on here. But again, $137. So anyway, 23 photos. That's a lot of photos for just this. Yep. He's got quite a few. Yeah, they're new style bulbs, and it's just because of the reflectors, the style around them. Whoever bought this is going to use them on their tree because they can replace them still. Now, these are vintage. This is probably more like 80s, but they still sold for that. So again, look out for the Christmas lights. I threw this one in here because they are newer. So when people would pass this up, I might spend 15 or 20 bucks on this, take a shot. I would have looked it up if I didn't know, but I do know these because I buy them every year. But I'm going to touch on just one more item here. Christmas cards. Now, I've talked about them all the time. I sell them all the time. They're in most of my haul videos. But one area that I run into very rarely, but I do, are ones of celebrities or special things like Queen Elizabeth, $1,400, Disney, $1,200, New York Yankees, $1,000 for this lot. So, I look for everything. I look for whatever. This one's a handmade one, $700. Diana and Princess Diana and Prince Charles, $592. Let's go down to the bottom here now. This is more along the lines what you're going to run into. These big lots at estate sales for 50, 60 bucks or something like that. That's about what I would spend at the most. 532 bucks, for a grouping. So I put them together. I buy them cheap. I sort out the better looking ones and put them in a lot, and the other ones I put in a different lot, or I mix up some, not so good ones with some really good ones and have the real good ones showing the best. Walt Disney Studios, 530 bucks. Again, any of those are rare, and you can run into these. H.P. Lovecraft, here's one, from him, or to him. So 1934, you got to look at these things. People save these sometimes for other reasons. Here's, 50s and 60s. Here's another group, 550, $474. That may sound like not a ton considering the amount of cards, but I pick these up all the time for $5-10 for a couple hundred sometimes even, because people don't think they hold that much value. And even used ones that are like that. This is the used price we're talking here. Queen Elizabeth. Now here's another big group with Hallmark, and I've showed some Hallmark just the other day. $455. And that's in groups, so you can actually get more out of some of these when you sell them separately or in smaller lots. Queen Elizabeth, vintage ones, World War I, $450 again. Buying them in lots at estate sales and auctions is good, as long as you keep the price down and you know the difference between the older and the newer ones, right off the bat. More Queen Elizabeth. I've seen FDR. Here's a Kennedy one. Queen Elizabeth again. Again, it's not as specific. It's just all kinds of different random ones. Here's a studio card, too, from Disney, 282, Queen Elizabeth. And believe it or not, some of these famous ones will show up in people's collections. She sends out thousands and thousands of these every year. And you're talking for hundreds of years, queens have been sending out cards. I've run into one before, so, you can't tell me they're not going to show up. I've sold one for over $300. Presidents. Here's Harry S. Truman. FDR ones are like $300 or $400, maybe more on the right one. It just depends on what kind of card. You can see we're still into the hundreds, and some of them are just common cards. This person put it too low to buy it now, probably put it too low. I put them up high, and half the time they go right off the bat for those high prices. Let's see, here's Prince Charles. They don't have to be signed. Even non-signed ones from famous people will still sell. George S. Patton. There's just so many different. Edison. Now, Edison makes Halloween ones, too. So, it's not just that, but Christmas cards. Here's a 2009 one from Barack. So, it doesn't have to be super old. And there's thousands, tens of thousands of Barack cards that are mailed out. So, it just depends. You just have to look around. Here's a Tokyo Disney one with a gift card and gift money, $189. That's a new one. So, there's new ones that even sell. Hand-drawn ones. There's booklets. There's 1969 ones. You just have to pay attention to this. I always dig them up. Nas. Now, here's a Victorian trade card, $165. I've sold Christmas Victorian card items over $600 a piece on many, many, many occasions. I'm almost positive I will do it again this year, because last year we sold maybe a half a dozen or more Christmas cards for more than $600 a piece for each one of those that I sold. And that's just a given. Here's just an oddball Hallmark. This one's probably 50s, 60s, $159. Nothing that old. Here's a Marcus Ward. I sell these all the time, $155. It's brands I always look for. You just got to keep an eye out for these. Victorian, here's another one. Nister. Now, that's a famous name. He did a lot of Christmas, so $150. Godzilla, $150. Let me spot back down here. I just saw one that looked like Yoko. Oh, no. Dr. Seuss. Now, I've seen some of those. Those are 2000. Those aren't even that old. I've had this one here, $147. Let me go back up, because I swore I saw Yoko. Oh, no. I've had this one here, too. This is a fairly, not a common one, but I think it's by Tuck. Maybe it's not signed, but I do believe it is. Raphael Tuck and Son. Maybe I just missed where it was. I swore I saw one that said Yoko Ono. Just for my own curiousness. Now, here's a war one. Any of these regimental ones are always worth money. 36th Ulster Division, 1917. I showed you some war ones even in some of my videos. Some of the war ones. Here's Yoko Ono signed, 190. So like 140-ish that one went for. But I showed you some World War II Christmas cards. I always buy if they have anything military on them, $30 or more, no matter what. Any World War II, they have to be in like a real card that looks like a Christmas card, but has a military plane or is from a military base or a military ship or something along the line. But they all sell. You know, and I'm still going on. There's all kinds of princes and kings and stuff. You know, and everybody says, well, how are you going to find that? I mean, there's a ton of other stuff here's a De La Rue. I always look for De La Rue. Every De La Rue Christmas card I've ever had sold for at least 40. Here's a nice little lot of some, $130. I mean, you can sit here and spend hours looking at the Christmas cards, and, you'll find them for all kinds of prices. Even postcards, here's a Tuck one right here, Raphael Tuck. That's literally a brand I always look for. I've had similar ones to this. They always sell too. Those are Tuck or Ward or some of those Nister or something along that line that made those. Crane ones are pretty good. I've had some of these. So again, you just have to look these up. Spend some time on your own when you're out, because you're going to run into massive quantities. 20,000 of them sold, just the sold category. So that's 20% or more of everyone, because I believe there was less than 100,000 Christmas cards up in the collectibles section when I first looked. So you've got a 20% or higher sell-through rate before Christmas. Next month, the Christmas ones should start to go like mad. We've already been selling a bunch more in Christmas. They have ticked up this week. So again, the next couple days, I'm just going to show you these kind of items, because if you're not looking for these, you're missing so many good opportunities. This is the time of year that people get rid of this to make room for their new Christmas stuff. So every year it happens. Every year at Sabres, they have a Christmas section. Goodwill has a Christmas section. Most small mom and pops have a Christmas section. Everybody's putting this out. The sales, the garage sales, they're putting this out. The estate sales are putting this out in special tables. They've put it together. All the big flea markets that run once a month or so have big Christmas sections now, because that's what's getting to be hot right this minute. So we're in fourth quarter. This is what you should be buying when you run across it. Who's going to know to buy broken light bulbs? How many people actually sell those? I do, as I said, because I've known for years about those, but most people pass them up, or they think if they don't work, I'm not going to mess with them. But again, look up the price. Look it up yourself. Please, I beg you to do this, or at least go out there when you're finding this stuff and spend a moment to think about buying those items. So anyway, that's what I have for you today. Hopefully that gave you some ideas, and hopefully gave you some thoughts. Well, there you go. Those are some more items I always look for, especially this time of year, as I said. So hopefully you liked the video. Hopefully that gave you some ideas. If you did enjoy the video, please hit the like button down below. You can also hit the bell icon to be notified when we post new content or go live. Subscribe and tell a friend.